Introduction. For 3 years of my childhood, I had no fixed home. My family and I lived with relatives and, for short periods during this time, in a housing shelter. I was grateful that we had a roof over our heads, but I remember how frightening the housing shelter experience was. There were always unpleasant-looking characters lurking around the entrance who would throw us piercing stares when we entered the building. Being a 4-year-old child, I felt scared. But my mother reassured me that things would be okay. She said that we should just look down and go straight to our room. One night we popped out, and when we returned there was blood all over the staircase, and on the walls in the corridor. Fragments of glass covered the floor. My sisters and I had never seen anything so horrific before. We looked up at our mum. I sensed fear in her, but again, with courage, she told us to tread carefully over the glass and get up to our room. Still shaken by what we'd seen, my sisters and I tried to work out what may have happened downstairs in the corridor of the shelter. Then we heard screams and shouting, followed by sounds of chaos. It was terrifying. Once more, we looked to Mum for comfort. She pulled us in close and told us not to worry, but I could hear her heart pounding. She was just as scared. We had very little sleep that night. The screams went on and on. I was surprised that no police came and that no one else seemed to be trying to calm the storm. It was as though no one cared about the safety of the people there. It felt like no one cared about us. All we had was each other, in a world that seemed cold and corrupt. When I discuss childhood memories like this one with my friends and family, they're shocked by how much I can remember. I often find them asking, "How do you even remember that? You were so young." I don't remember everything, nor are my memories crystallized in clear detail. However, I do remember how I felt during the majority of my experiences, good and bad. There was so much emotion attached to the events that took place, and these memories haunted me for a very long time. During my late teens, I wished a lot of these memories would just go away. I wanted to erase them so that I was no longer reminded of the struggles I'd faced as a child. I was even embarrassed by some of them. I felt uncomfortable with who I was. There were times when I said and did things that didn't match the child I was deep down. I often felt hurt by the world and wanted to hurt it back. Things are different now. I look back on my memories and embrace everything that happened. There's a lesson to be learned from every event. I realize that the good, the bad, and the downright ugly events are all a part of who I've become. Although some of them may have been painful, they're a blessing. They've taught me so much. My experiences have left me with a drive to find a way out of misery and a path towards a better life. I've written this book to share the lessons I've learned, in the hope that they'll provide you with some clarity and guidance to live what I call a greater life. It's up to you what you take from my stories. I accept that some ideas will resonate, while others will feel uncomfortable. Nevertheless, I do believe that if you can apply the concepts I discuss within the course of this book, you'll experience incredible positive changes in your life. I'm not a philosopher, a psychologist, a scientist, or a religious leader. I'm simply someone who likes to learn and share my wisdom with others in the hope that it may release them from undesirable feelings and increase feelings of joy. I believe that every person on this planet is here to make a difference. I'm devoted to helping you find your purpose so you can add value to our world, which is in such turmoil. If we can collectively become conscious citizens of this planet, we'll lessen the burden we place on it. By living to your full potential, you'll not only change your world, you'll change the world around you, too. Some people are comfortable with mediocrity. They avoid living a greater life, one that's beyond what most consider the norm. A greater life requires you to find your greatness. In simple terms, greatness is about becoming the greatest version of yourself. It's about breaking the imaginary boundaries that hold you captive in a life you believe you have to settle for, and touching the realms of the unthinkable. The greatness mentality means living a life without limits, where there are infinite possibilities. For this reason, we cannot define where greatness begins or ends. We can only strive to become better. Stop trying to impress people. Impress yourself. Stretch yourself. Test yourself. Be the best version of you that you can be. This book requires you to commit to a better you right now. My aim is to help you become better than the person you were yesterday, every day, in each and every way, for the rest of your life. If you wake up with this desire in your mind and then consciously follow up on it, you'll be surprised by how much inspiration you find. Your life will begin to reflect your commitment to progress. Greatness isn't a one-dimensional term. Although it's subjective, most will associate the word with having a special talent, lots of money or material possessions, authority or status, and big achievements under their belt. But true greatness goes deeper than that. It cannot exist without purpose, love, selflessness, humility, appreciation, kindness, and, of course, our highest priority as human beings, happiness. When I think of greatness, I think of reaching a level of mastery across all avenues of life and making a positive impact on the world. Great people aren't just the high rollers in life, but those who we value as amazing inhabitants of this world. You deserve a greater life, and this book will help you create it. What is self-love? To achieve a sense of peace, we need balance between work and play, between action and patience, spending and saving, laughter and seriousness, leaving and staying. Failing to achieve a balance across every area of your life can leave you feeling exhausted, among many other unpleasant emotions, such as guilt. Here's an example of balancing action and patience. If you're the project leader of a final year university assignment, and you catch a team member who you like on social media instead of helping your team, you may allow it to slide. If they do it on multiple occasions and you notice their productivity slipping, you may warn them that if it persists, you'll have to report them to your course leader. If they then choose to ignore you and continue their behavior, would you feel guilty about taking further action? If you're a kind and compassionate human being, you may fear hurting their feelings and getting them in trouble. By reporting them to the course leader, they may have to face severe consequences that affect their final grade, and that might have implications on their future. However, they're disrespecting you and ignoring your warnings. You may feel like they're taking your kindness for granted, and you might worry that other project members will be disheartened if they see your lenience as favoritism. In this instance, if you're kind and honest, and follow a fair process, you needn't feel guilty for taking further action. It's important to recognize that it's not unjust to let go of those who show no concern for you. As project leader, you can remember that you tried your best, and unfortunately, your friend chose not to respond. If you don't take action, you risk losing your inner peace, the respect of your team, and harming your own final grade. By taking a balanced approach, you can feel more at ease and avoid any bad feelings, such as guilt. You demonstrate both action and patience. You can show that you're understanding and forgiving, and also firm and authoritative. The chances are that even if this student is upset by your decision, they will still respect you for giving them a chance. Self-love is the balance between accepting yourself as you are while knowing you deserve better, and then working towards it. So, what does this have to do with self-love? Well, the phrase self-love is often misunderstood. Self-love encourages acceptance, but many people use this as an excuse to remain unchallenged. In fact, self-love consists of two essential elements that must be balanced if one wishes to live a harmonious life. The first element encourages unconditional love towards yourself. The focus is on mindset. The truth is, you won't love yourself more if, for example, you lose or gain weight, or undergo cosmetic surgery. You may feel more confident, sure, but true self-love is when you appreciate where you are and who you are, regardless of any transformation you aspire to. The second element encourages growth, and the focus is on taking action. Improving yourself and your life is also self-love because it means you recognize that you deserve more than settling for mediocrity. When it comes to self-love, think about what it means to love others unconditionally. For example, your partner may have annoying habits, but this doesn't mean you love them any less. You accept them as they are, and sometimes even learn from their flaws. You also want what's best for them. Therefore, if a particular habit were affecting their health, you'd support them in making positive changes. This demonstrates your unconditional love for them. You don't judge them harshly, but you do want them to be the best version of themselves, for their own sake. Self-love is about applying this to yourself, having your own best interests at heart. True self-love can be present in anything that adds value to your life, from your diet to your spiritual rituals or the way you interact within your personal relationships. And, of course, a significant aspect of self-love is acceptance, being content with who you are, as you are. As a result, self-love is empowerment and liberation. An understanding of self-love allows us to find balance between mindset and action. Without balance, we'll regularly stumble, fall, and feel lost. When you love yourself, life will begin to love you back. The balance between mindset and action will enable you to vibrate higher. We'll explore this further in the next few chapters. Part 1: A Matter of Vibes. Introduction. My time at university was a financial struggle. Although I'd been given a student loan, most of it went on my accommodation. I had very little to live on. I couldn't buy any course books because I couldn't afford them. I wouldn't ask my mum for money because I knew she was struggling herself. I knew that if I did ask her, she'd somehow find the money for me as she had done her whole life, even if it meant that she couldn't eat. For the most part, I budgeted well. I could go out and party with my friends regularly. I never went hungry, and I didn't have to keep wearing the same clothes. I made a little money from online endeavors, like building customized page layouts on my space. During one summer term, I returned home for a break. I had no money left and everything felt hard. I didn't want to go back to university because I didn't enjoy the work and I had no motivation to complete my summer assignments. Having spent much of the year studying, I was forced to find a summer job so I'd be able to stay afloat when I got back to university. All of my friends were planning a much-needed holiday together, and I couldn't afford to go. and I was having problems with a girl. The drama I was experiencing in my romantic and platonic relationships constantly angered me, and I didn't feel good about life. One evening, I came across a book called The Secret One. People were saying it was changing their lives, and that everyone could benefit from it. It was founded on a simple principle, the law of attraction. The premise of the law of attraction is that what you think about, you bring about. In other words, we can attract the things we want in our lives by committing our thoughts to them. This applies to the things you don't want, as well as to the things you do want. Quite simply, whatever you focus on will be returned to you. So, the law of attraction stresses the importance of thinking about what you want, rather than focusing on things you fear or dread. The law of attraction places great emphasis on positive thinking. To me, it sounded too good to be true, so I began to do more research and I read about people who were claiming that the law of attraction was bringing them astonishing changes. Could I apply this to my life, too? I knew exactly what I wanted, to go on holiday with my friends. I needed roughly £500 for this to happen, so I followed the general guidelines and tried to be as positive as I could. A week or so later, I received a letter from the tax office saying that I may have paid too much tax. Was this a sign that the law of attraction was working? I filled out the form to provide them with further details and posted it back to them as soon as I could. A week went by and I heard nothing. My friends were getting ready to book their holiday, and I felt miserable that I wouldn't be able to join them. The potential of a tax rebate lingered in the back of my mind. With growing frustration, I rang the tax office and asked them if they'd received my letter. They confirmed that they had, and that I'd hear back soon. At this point, I felt excited, but I was running out of time. The summer term was ending and my friends would be going away soon. Another week went by and I still hadn't received anything. I was starting to give up on the idea and told my friends to book the holiday without me. I decided to focus elsewhere and lift my mood by reading motivational material. At least this would make me feel a little bit better about life. A few more days passed, then an envelope from the tax office arrived. I opened it nervously. Inside was a check for £800. I was shocked, overwhelmed and overjoyed. I got myself to the bank as fast as I could to deposit the check. Checks usually take up to 5 days to clear, but this one was in my account within 3 days. The following Monday my friends and I booked a last-minute holiday and flew out 4 days later. I had a wonderful time. But, more importantly, I became a believer in the law of attraction. I decided that I was going to use this to change my entire life. There's something missing from the law of attraction. For the law of attraction to work, you have to think positively. However, it's difficult to stay positive all the time. When things go wrong in life, or they don't quite turn out how we expect, it's hard to remain optimistic. Most people saw me as a positive individual, but when things got hard, I was far from it. Anger had always got the better of me. Sometimes, external events would create so much rage within me that I'd want to wreck everything in sight. As a result, I'd enter a downward spiral. I fluctuated constantly from highs to extreme lows. I was like two different people. These inconsistencies were projected onto my life. I'd go through some really good periods and then experience really bad ones. During the bad times, it was impossible to see the bright side of things. I tended to give in and take out my frustrations on the world by smashing up furniture, speaking rudely to others and moaning about how terrible it was to live in the world. During my last year of university, I experienced a massive setback in a group project that counted for a significant percentage of my final grade. When my group became divided over how much of a contribution people were making, I tried to be optimistic about it and expected it to work out in the end. But it didn't. It got really messy. It suddenly seemed clear that the law of attraction didn't always work. My group was completely divided, arguing constantly over our individual roles and how much effort each member was putting in. Just months before graduation, things got out of control and harsh words were exchanged. Unfortunately, there was no way to fix the issue. My friend Daryl and I felt that we were treated very unfairly, but there wasn't much we could do about it, other than work 10 times harder with looming deadlines that seemed impossible to meet, especially